reconvene the November 17th, 2021 Mashpee Public Schools business meeting to, what did I say? I'm going to bring it to, or call it to order? Yeah. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we begin, just want to remind everyone that the Mashpee Public Schools recognize and honor the many generations of Wampanoag people who have lived and sustained this territory for more than 10,000 years. First order of business is to ratify the agenda of November 17th. Do I have any motions?
Madam Chair, I move we ratify the agenda for November 17th, 2021.
All right, Brian has a first. Any second?
I'll second.
Kathy seconds. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Kathy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Don? Yes. And I vote yes as well. All right, do we have, it doesn't look like we have any public comment. Anything on the Zoom, Hope?
Nope, not at this time.
All right. So I believe we have Talia Landry here, who is going to help us with our Native American presentation or performance. Welcome. Yeah, okay, gotcha. I wasn't involved in the planning of this, so you tell me. Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's great. I thought we were going to get to see you dance, which
She is amazing.
she's amazing. That's why I was.
Appreciate that.
Perfect. Thanks, Hope.
Okay, go. Okay.
Yep.
So hello everyone, thank you for having me today. If you guys don't know, my name is Talia Landry. I am the communications coordinator for the Mashpee Wampanoag Education Department. I've been there for a few months now, so we figured it was a good idea to get my face in here so you guys could know who I am. I have my contact information at the bottom of the sheet as well in case you guys needed it, and just to put, you know, a name with a face and stuff like that. So quickly, what we have been doing over the past month, a few of the things that we've been doing. We had some representatives of the Education Department and Councilman David Whedon at the Mass Association of School Superintendents and Mass Association of School Committee joint conference in the beginning of November. And we just shared, you know, a brief history, and then we followed it with singing and drumming by Chinook Paknet. We also had representatives from the department meet with MMHS History Department earlier this week, actually, to begin work in curriculum development to help aid the faculty on incorporating accurate Native American history into the classroom. And we'll continue to work on the curriculum and the topics and stuff that we got from the department staff and really develop that. And we're planning to meet again December 7th so we could go over all the materials and see how they're going to incorporate it into the classroom. And in addition, we're working with the Falmouth Public Schools Social Justice History Curriculum teacher as well on the same sort of project. So we just wanted to throw that out there. The Weetamoo Schools students provided canvases for a mural that's shown at 4Cs, so you guys could go up there and see it. It's pretty awesome. We started the educational performances for all the Mashpee schools yesterday, and it was a blast. We thought it was a great turnout. I mean, some of you guys were there. We started at the Casey Coombs School and ended the afternoon at the high school. And we plan to have more tomorrow, Thursday, at the Quashnet School. So we have two performances. One starts at 9:30, and I believe the second one starts at 10:30, or around that, 10:15 maybe. And then we'll have another one at the Mashpee Middle High School at 1:25. And you guys are all welcome to, you know, come and see and participate in that. It's a really good time. And that just is what we did there. We did some brief history. We started with some history. Then we went into the dance demonstrations with history and the story behind those, so we could really get a full, you know, picture of what we were trying to convey. So they had a lot, especially the high school, they had a lot of information thrown at them within the hour. And we actually also did this at the Falmouth Public Schools. We did 9 shows with them in October, so continuing strong. We actually have our mentor that will be starting at the Quashnet School soon, I think in the next coming weeks, to address some of the tribal students' needs that were exposed. We have, at the partnership agreement on December 7th, we're planning to address some professional development opportunities for the schools that we might be able to provide, dive into our curriculum work that we started, and current, high school course offerings that you guys provide. Also, STEP staff is also in the planning stages of providing an educational series of about 1-hour seminars for the MASC Division 7 and 10 teams. Am I right, Nicole? Mm-hmm. So the tentative topics that we talked about were 3. So the history of education for Native Americans, intergenerational trauma, and cultural appropriation. So those were just some things that were, thrown out there as topics that we're going to try and, come together and really put something together for them and see when we could present that. And that's kind of the wrap-up of what we did. We also, wanted to just express our gratitude and thanks again for the flag-raising ceremonies that you guys have been doing, and I think there's another one next week. Mm-hmm. And, the book libraries that you put in honor of Bryson and Okemos. So we just wanted to say thank you, at least from the education department, for that as well. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Talia.
Is that it? Do I have questions?
Let me see if there's any questions from the committee. You're off the hook.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Good
Thank
job.
you guys for listening to me ramble through that.
No, that was great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a great night, guys.
So, Patty, you know what's next here?
Yes, so
Okay.
next is my part.
Okay.
And I am going to read a little bit before we give a very special award tonight. I'm actually going to just go like this. So it is my pleasure to introduce the 2021 recipient of the Superintendent's Academic Excellence Award. Every superintendent in the state of Massachusetts is charged with providing an award to one senior at their high school. And this year, my choice, or the person receiving this award, is Miss Isabella Egan. Isabella is the embodiment of a well-rounded student who has excelled academically, athletically, in co-curriculars, and in service to the school and to our Mashpee community. Isabella is currently ranked number 1 out of 110 students in the MMHS class of 2022. She carries a weighted GPA of 105.4 and has received many academic awards, including the prestigious Harvard Junior Book Award. Isabella is involved in several co-curricular organizations and clubs. She's a member of the National Honor Society, the National History Honor Society, and the National English Honor Society. She serves as the vice president for each of these organizations. She's also the treasurer of the Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society, and she is a 4-year member of the Mashpee Girls Field Hockey and Softball teams. In addition, Isabella has been instrumental in creating and producing the Mashpee Minute, a school news show for students and families. She is also an active member of the HOSA Future Health Professionals Club at MMHS. She is also active in our local community. She has tutored students in math and Spanish and is proud of assisting one student to improve from a 3rd to 5th grade level. She has volunteered at Highfield Hall Mansion, where she has assisted in teaching cooking classes, participated in seasonal party planning and preparation, and served as a greeter of guests. She enjoys her role as a youth ministry member. Isabella has balanced her academic, athletic, and extracurricular activities while being part of Mashpee's workforce. She has designed graphics for a local scholarship foundation, worked as a hostess and busser at Trevi Cafe and Wine Bar, and worked as an office assistant in a local law office. Isabella has applied restrictive early action to Harvard University. She is also applying regular decision to Boston College, Boston University, Brown University, Fairfield University, Providence College, Tufts University, and Yale University. We are so very proud and grateful for Isabella and all that she has accomplished and continued and contributed to the Mashpee Public Schools. She is a role model for excellence for all of us. Congratulations to Isabella and her family on receiving this outstanding achievement and recognition. So if you'd like to come up, I will come meet you. So I'm going to actually come to you.
Yeah. Let's do it over here.
You got to open your phone for me then. I'm really scared taking her pictures. You know how Mrs. DeBoer always takes amazing pictures? I don't.
All right, and if your family can come up. Bring your family.
Yeah, why don't you go right here?
And so this is the certificate of academic excellence, and it says Isabella Eden having duly qualified under the standards prescribed by the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, is hereby awarded the certificate of academic excellence. With today's date.
Ready? I'm going to stand in front of you.
And we're going to do one quick mouth talk.
Look at the ball.
15 minutes.
There's Stacy, just got off the ball. All right, you ready? All right, how about the family?
Yeah. Now, the family picture, both just all of you, you don't have to wear your mask because you're, but then.
Does the family have, do they have phones they want us to take pictures of?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody in?
Do any of you want me to take one?
Yeah, do you,
Your phone?
I can send them those too, but yes, I'll.
I just told you how bad I am at taking pictures, but I'm happy to do it.
have confidence, hey.
Here, I'll take. No, like my mom always put her finger in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I am not lost.
Just missing one sister in this picture.
All right, my turn. 1, 3. 1, 2. Gorgeous.
Thank you very much.
And I don't know, Isabella, if you have any update on your college plans?
Not yet.
Okay. I don't know what that restrictive early decision is.
It's like early action, but you can apply anywhere else for early action.
It's like legit connection, yes.
Oh.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Can you tell us what you plan to study?
I applied as a history major, but I've also been considering majoring in mathematics.
Okay. Well, come see us at NOAA when you're ready. You sound just like the perfect person for a government job.
Well, she needs to come back to Mashpee and teach.
Can you introduce us to your family?
Yeah, so this is my mom, Peggy, my grandma, Susan, my grandpa, Bill, my grandma, Jeannie, and my dad, Sean.
Oh. Well, congratulations. I've been watching you on the Mashpee Minute for a while, so I feel like I know you. And to your parents, well done.
Hard worker.
Anyone, anything for Isabel? Anyone else? All right. Congratulations again. It's really impressive. Okay, so if you want to stick around and see what our other Falcons are up to, we have our STEM teacher, Jamie Whitten, who's going to talk about a project with her students.
You
Yeah,
can take
now that we're
on.
not
Yeah.
Zooming, I think it's fine.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Jamie Whitten, the STEM teacher here at Quashnet. And in my class, students learn to work through the engineering design process in all our different projects from 3rd grade through 6th grade. And this year, our 5th and 6th graders have created launch devices that will send a foam toy, hopefully really hard, into the ceiling. Their goal was to go against gravity for 3 seconds, and this project was inspired by Hidden Figures. We read the picture book version of Hidden Figures. So if Cairo, this is Cairo King in 5th grade, if you want to come on up and tell us about your design. And then demonstrate it for us.
Okay, my design is a spoon, wrapped in tape because I like the way it looked. But I used a spoon. At first, I put the creature in the head of the spoon, but the creature kept flying across the room, and the spoon would flip. Then I turned it the other way and put the creature on the handle of the spoon. Then I tried it out. It would work fine because the creature went up into the air for 3 seconds. I also tried putting the spoon on top of things like the tape roll in a box to give it more potential energy. But it didn't work as well because the creature went across the room.
Kiva, would you like to come show yours? Kiva's also in 5th grade. A similar design, she chose to make some different improvements to hers. Do you want to shoot it first or do you want to talk first?
Hi, I'm Kiva Saad, and this is my launcher that I made. The goal of my launcher is for it to go up in the air for 3 seconds. My invention started out with just a regular spoon. Then I noticed that it went across the room instead of going in the air because it didn't have enough kinetic energy. That's when I had an idea to improve it. I added tape throughout the whole spoon. It worked a little, but then I noticed that my monster kept falling over, so then I added popsicle sticks to the spoon and taped it. That worked pretty well, and I think that my invention improved from the beginning to the end.
We had a lot of fun testing these. Yeah. And then we have Mason Augusta, who's a 6th grader. And he took a different approach.
Hello, my name is Mason Augusta, and I created a device. It's not really a spoon, but it is a launcher. Sometimes when I launch it, it gets stuck, but sometimes it can hit the ceiling. So when I pull it down, it creates stored energy, and when I let it go, it creates kinetic energy and launches it up.
Thank you, 5th and 6th graders. In 4th grade, the 4th graders were working through the engineering design process to create windmills. And that project was inspired by the boy who harnessed the wind. And so their goal was to create a windmill that would work well enough to lift a cup of pebbles. So it didn't just have to spin, but it actually had to spin with enough force to lift that load. Ryan or Kai? We didn't decide who was going to go first. This is Ryan Murtaugh in 4th grade.
I'm Ryan Murtaugh. This is my windmill. At first, I had a windmill design that it was really straight, and I designed it to be more at an angle, so it's different, and it's at an angle now. And we used paper to make it wider. And it's trying to lift a cup of pebbles.
And this is Kai Daly. Kai's also in 4th grade and chose to use some similar but different materials.
My first design for the windmill, the silver parts weren't the same size. They were shorter than each other, and it made it go slower. So then I changed it, so when I cut out the silver stuff, I made it the same size. And I put it at an angle, so when the air catches here, it makes it spin. and then, yeah.
You want to demonstrate? Thank you.
Awesome. Are we allowed to ask questions? All right. I get the sense that you are willing to take some questions. So how long did it take you? How many days of class did you work on your design?
It actually took me about 3 hours because we had limited time in the 5 class.
Okay, so that's over a couple of days?
Yes. But I originally had it designed in the 2, so I had to make it bigger so it wouldn't drop me in a square, and I did the exact same thing for 1 square.
Gotcha. You know, I like the aesthetic of your design. It's pretty cool. It looks like you thought about what it was going to look like, which is kind of cool. I like the crisscross of the rubber bands. Reminds me of like a barn door. Yeah. And where did Kiava go? Is she back there still? I can't. Yeah, Kiva. There she is. Okay. How much laughter was there in the room when you guys were shooting the things across the room?
It was funny because a lot of people, like, were not thinking like, I went one eye on the playground, and they was like, what is this about flower shop? A lot of people, I thought they were like, if other people like space working on it, so it was pretty funny.
It sounds fun. Do you guys have any questions for the kids?
I just want to know, have all the features come down from the ceiling?
Well, not entirely. One of them is in the drain outside. We had to get away from a ceiling, and so, in the last day we went and shot them all off and landed in the drain.
Any questions, Kathy?
I think it's great. The windmills, I'm really impressed, like, seeing the rocks. Did you try lifting anything else with the windmills, or did you just stick to the rocks?
We've loaded more and more.
More and more?
rocks in there.
Yeah. Awesome. Great job, guys.
Yeah, really, really awesome. Matt, Brian, anything?
I don't really have any questions. I just want to say thank you guys for all showing us this, and it's really, really proud of all of you for being able to come out and speak to a bunch of people you may not have seen around. It takes a lot of courage and show your design and speak to it, and just look to your left, look to your right, and that's potential of the future, college and all that stuff. So keep doing what you're doing, and really proud of you guys. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Can we get the students up with Mrs. Whidden and the school committee for our group picture? Maybe over, well, I can't say that. It's fine. You can do it.
Do you want to go in too?
Yeah, that would be good.
Do you want to be in the picture? So that's you don't? Oh. Yeah, I heard that.
You got us all in?
Yeah, so let me, yeah, we'll go in. Are you ready? Everybody's looking.
Show. Ha ha.
Oh, I didn't smile.
Nice job. That's my favorite thing that happened today right there. That's the best part of the meeting. Can we just have that? Exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for being here and working through the design process with the students and giving them such opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I offered that. She said no. She changed her mind.
thanks for bringing some excitement to our meeting tonight. We appreciate it.
Baby cry.
Patty, is the 6:20 agenda item not happening?
It already did.
No, that was what Talia was here doing. She said she was representing the education department.
Yeah, so
It's-
then the other
it's-
thing didn't happen?
No.
The other thing didn't happen.
It's not happening?
No.
Okay. Okay. And then there was us.
Now it feels more like a normal meeting.
And here we are. Okay. Skyla and Delay, you guys are going to have to stick around afterwards to just keep.
No, you don't have to,
I'm
Judge.
kidding, I'm kidding. All right, so next on the agenda, we have our student representatives. First, Skyla Rimple. Take it away, Skyla.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First thing is congratulations to Lisa. You know she had to head out because there is, like, as a peer of hers for all these past years, there's literally nobody more deserving. And so seeing her get that award makes me so excited because she was brilliant. And so yeah, Mashpee High School has been pretty busy over the past month. One thing that's cool is the Audible Local Ledger is kicking in with the National English Honor Society, which has students record themselves reading to the blind, and so that's a really cool service project that we get to do with them. We're also currently reading elementary level books to create book talks, which are kind of like summaries, but they're more like getting younger students excited to read the books. And I just read one that was called Betty Before X, and so I'll be preparing a book talk for that soon, but that's a cool project that we get to do. Volleyball held their Big Pink fundraiser, and they raised over $300 to fight breast cancer, and so that's a huge congratulations to them. It's always good to combine athletics with service. They also had their senior night honoring Olivia Oliveira, Cheyenne Hendricks, and Haley Cogshell, who are all all-stars, as well as Paige Lacava and Kaylin Oakley Robbins. So a huge congrats to them, not only for their season, but also because they were the first year that started the volleyball program when they were sophomores. And so they've really had strong leadership and built that over the past 3 years to making it bigger and stronger than it is now. Another thing, we've just had a lot of senior nights, and so with boys soccer, we have Nick Almeida, Kyle Swords, Liam Farwell, Brian Lima, Peter DiFrancesco, Josh Crawford, Luke Olson, Gabe Pereira, and so just a huge congratulations to all of them, too. It takes a lot to be, and to have that many seniors, it just shows how much people really like to stick with these sports, which is awesome. Field hockey had their senior night as well, where they honored Sam Rosum, Issa, who's also on the field hockey team, Ava Christo, Madeline Cook, Abby Preventure, and Zahara Russell. And they worked so hard, and I went to their senior night. It's so much fun. They had the funniest fat heads. With, like, the pictures, that are all big, them on the sticks, and it was just so fun. And another one, which was girls soccer, we had our senior night in a big win against Falmouth, which highlighted Kalia Eaton and Sam Kersey, who are both South Shore League All-Stars as well as Eastern Mass All-Stars, so that's a huge athletic The National Math Honor Society had their induction ceremony last Tuesday, where they welcomed new junior and senior members for mathematic excellence. The 5th annual backpack drive has begun again, and donations are being collected at the We Are Mashpee store. I think there might be one here that I passed on the way in, and at the middle high school. And it's Grace Spunk's senior project. They always have a senior who really leads this project, and Grace has taken it on this year, which is awesome. So definitely support her and this great cause. And I know there's a flyer with more information. It's on the social media and at the Mashpee store, and so it's definitely great to get involved with that. The Team Activist Group held a mapathon last Saturday. They've had a series of these online mappings with open street mapping that are led by Jules Reynolds and her mom, Mrs. Reynolds, who's a teacher at the middle high school. And it's a very unique and very practical method of community service, and it's hosted with the American Geographical Society. And so it's really cool for people who are more into that to have that leg up into open street mapping. And so thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to Julia.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I know it's not very warm right now, but it did stay pretty warm, like, up to very late. Because, like, on Halloween it was so warm, which is pretty shocking because last Halloween it was pretty cold, in my opinion. So this month, the middle school student body government had their first ever in-person meeting since Corona, which felt like a big accomplishment because, like, usually our meetings last year were on Zoom, and it was kind of just a different feel to it, but this year was actually in person. We met after school in a classroom, and it kind of felt like everything was back to normal except for the masks and the social distancing. It was really nice. I could tell a lot of people were eager to be at the meeting. A lot of the students were very excited to be a part of it in an in-person meeting. It was also their first ever meeting this year because we haven't had a meeting other than this one. We were talking about wanting to help with wrapping presents. So Christmas is coming up. I know it's not Thanksgiving yet, but a lot of people are thinking about Christmas. And at the Mashpee store in the Commons, they're already thinking of wrapping presents for people. And so the student body government is trying to gather students from the student body government to help volunteer and wrap those presents. So there's certain hours that we can commit to take shifts. It's actually going to be very fun, and I'm excited for that. We're also talking about volunteering to hold up banners for the holiday parade because unfortunately we're not going to do an actual float this year, but we are excited to help hold the flags for the parade. At the National Junior Honor Society meeting, everyone was working on making Thanksgiving and fall cards for the senior citizens that are at the senior homes because we feel like sometimes they don't have their family to meet with them, so it's nice to give them cards. And if they didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, we made fall cards so that everyone could have a card and uplift the spirit. It was really fun, and it felt like a nice thing to do. We all had a lot of fun. We spent about 40 minutes just coloring a lot of the students in my grade chose one-pagers where like you, on one single page, you include like quotes, you explain the quotes, you do themes, and you involve a lot of images that portray your understanding of the book. And it was so fun because like some students were doing such creative ideas. Like this one girl in my ELA class, she made little like flips of like sticky notes with the theme and then under it like her explaining the theme. And it was super creative. Not only that, but the science honors class of 8th grade started to work on their science fair projects last week. So we all found our partners and started brainstorming ideas of what we were going to do. It was really fun because my one girl, not in my honors science class, but she's my friend, so we ended up talking about like what we're going to do. She's going to do this experiment with fruit and dry ice. And she's so excited because she's always wanted to experiment with dry ice and see the results. and she hasn't gotten the dry ice yet, but she's already kind of testing it because she put a bunch of tomatoes in her freezer to see how they would react and how the cells would deteriorate like with a certain amount of time in the freezer. We also had a bunch of fun like coming up with sources to back up our ideas on our certain projects that we decided to do. It was really fun. We just spent a bunch of time just brainstorming, creating slides, just letting our creativity flow, which is really nice. National Junior Honor Society, off that note, but National Junior Honor Society is thinking of pairing up with environmentalist clubs to hold a beach cleanup before it gets too cold. I mean, for me it's already pretty cold, but before it starts snowing, we want to pair up with the environmentalist club to do beach cleanup because environmentalist club hasn't gotten a bunch of members yet. Like I feel like they only have like 5 members right now, and so it's really hard to do beach cleanups because there's not a lot of people. So the amount of work and trash that they get from the beach isn't as much as they expected to because they're only volunteering for a certain amount of time and they don't have a lot of members. So McKay Auger, she's the one that pitched this idea because she's also part of environmentalist club, and most of the representatives for National Junior Honor Society thought this was a really good idea because not only can we help volunteer, but we're also helping the environment and our own peers that are part of environmentalist club. Off that note again, Mashpee Minute is going really, really well. So not only is there a middle school minute, but there's also a weather seconds that happens, and it's by Rachel Blackburn, and she's in 9th grade, and she does really well explaining the weather. Not only that, but Evie Preventure does senior second, and they're both having a great time. I've talked to Leighton McGrory, who's a part of that, and he talks about how everyone in that Mashpee Minute filming crew loves doing it and how they're all very eager to film. Rachel Blackburn and Evie Preventure are both amazing people, and I wanted to give them a shout out because they stepped out of their, I know Rachel Blackburn stepped out of her comfort zone to do this, and I think she did a great job, and so did Evie Preventure. And that's it for today. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, you two. That was fun. It's always nice I can hear you're smiling under your mask. So I just wanted to add, Skyla did not mention, which for those of you who weren't at the annual conference in Hyannis for the Mass Association of Superintendents and School Committee members, I was very pleased to be at the Friday morning plenary and see Skyla Rimple as one of 2 students representing student voices across all of Massachusetts. And I will tell you that I am going to get that video of your commentary, and we're going to make a little clip of how you explained diversity, equity, and inclusion, because I do a lot of that work for the government. I do, I'm obviously involved with it here at the school, but it was a great way of explaining why it's important. And I think all the conversation around race and equity and the detractors of, I think no one could argue with the way that you put it that day. So I just want to say how impressed I was with your poise and your insight. And I just couldn't have been prouder to be representing Mashpee in that room with you. It was definitely, it was a high point of the week. So thank you so much. Yeah, really impressive. And anyone else have any questions?
I just want to second what Nicole said. At lunch on Friday, I sat down at a table with a group from very far away. They were like 3 hours away. And I said I was from Mashpee, and they said, oh, wait, that's where Skyla's from. And you had like impacted them that much that like that's what we talked about for like the first 5 minutes of what they were just like, what else does she like? Does she talk to other schools? Like they wanted you to like go to their school and talk to their students. So again, congratulations on a really great job up there talking and just being yourself and sharing your experience and your viewpoint. I think it was very important and very much needed, and awesome job. So
that's great. So first we were the place that Patty's from. Then we were the place that Brian is from. and now we can be the place that Skyla's from.
Skyla's going to be on a talking junket.
Yeah.
We'll just
exactly. Matt, did you have any questions for?
Just thank you always for both of you coming back. I was able to go to the conference, but I think that like you both coming here and giving us these updates, because it's essential for us to understand what the student body is doing, and yeah, we wouldn't know that without you. So thank you.
Brian, anything?
Yeah, I just want to echo and say Katabatosh, thank you for representing us, and it's great to see another student representative come to represent the middle school. And also, please keep us posted about that beach cleanup and anything else that you guys do, because some of us would definitely be willing to support and work with other organizations to help the environment and, the students as you guys come up with all these great, amazing projects. So keep up the great work, both of you.
Yeah, thanks. I was going to say the same. I'd love to know when that is. McKay is one of my favorite environmentalists, so please give her my regards and tell her to keep us posted. And I'm going to talk to the school committee about maybe sponsoring a couple backpacks too. So thank you for mentioning that as well. Okay, if you must go, you may, but yeah, feel free to get up whenever you'd like. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so next, we've already heard from the Tribal Education Department. So next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 20th. It's on page 2 of your packet. So I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion we approve the meeting minutes from October 20th, 2021.
Okay, a motion by Brian, second by Matt. Any discussion or edits to the minutes?
Sherry did a great job.
Yes, she did. I like these. They're like, people could actually know what happened by looking at them. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. Kathy?
yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Don? And I vote yes as well. So that's unanimous. Thanks. Stacy, you made it. Thank you so much for helping us not go through our yeah. And we just want to make sure, turn your mic on. Just hold it at the top until it turns blue. Okay, perfect.
Is that better?
Yep.
Good? Good evening. I put another $1 in my GPS jar, is what I call it when I have to recalculate my route. I gave myself $1. So I'm going to go to Hawaii. So, as you see on the agenda for COVID safety checks, we are in our third week that we just completed, and third week of pools being negative. 147 participants this week, so we added people. Some people are absent, so we actually have 155 signed up, but sometimes people are out for whatever reason, so that is going well. That is every Tuesday. You may still sign up. If you don't have the link, just email me. I can send it for anybody who's interested. Any questions on the weekly COVID safety checks? So the next item is talking about vaccinations and vaccination clinics. We sent out yesterday a survey to families of 5 to 11-year-olds to see who would be interested in a town-sponsored vaccination clinic. The VNA at Cape Cod is working with the local boards of health across the Cape, and in order to just know how much vaccine to have on hand. So as of this afternoon, we had 45 families express interest. So we will be moving forward with the VNA in the town to do so. As of today, we have 78 students in the 5 to 11-year-olds who have already received their first dose of vaccine. So as you know, it's been a couple of weeks, not really that long, actually, probably just a week and a half. So people are interested, people who want it are able to obtain it. We will be sending out an email. We were invited by the Bourne Board of Health today to offer a clinic or participation to go to a clinic on the 20th of November, so that's next weekend. If people are interested, they can sign up for that too. So definitely not a supply and demand issue like we saw in the beginning with vaccination. So it is available for those who want. Anybody who has questions about obtaining a vaccine, just reach out to me. I can send you additional information, and we do include it in our weekly updates too that Mrs. DeBoer sends out. As far as vaccination for the student population, we seem to increase every month about 10 to 15 people becoming fully vaccinated or extra doses. So as of today, I have documentation of 374 students, ages 12 through, 18, that have documentation of a vaccine. Again, it's not required, so we can't mandate it or for getting documentation, but parents are very open and willing to share it. If we do have to contact trace, it is part of our contact tracing now for quarantining, whether it's depending on the area of that. So that is moving forward. People are still continuing to get vaccinated. We have people who are eligible for boosters who are obtaining that. That is not an issue for access either. So again, if anybody has needs information on obtaining one of those, just reach out to me. I have tons of resources on that too. Any questions on vaccination?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I think at the last school committee, Hope knows how much I love percentages and data, right, Hope?
I can get
That's okay. I remember at the last meeting, someone saying that we had 44% district vaccinated or kids. I forget how we had to calculate it. But
So it's 3% vaccinated 5 to 11-year-olds as of today. Or actually, I should say November 11th, I'm sorry. 63% have one vaccine or more, and 78% 16 to 19-year-olds.
Yeah, so what I was, and that's great. I'm pleased to see that that's moving. But as I was just looking at our enrollment numbers, I thought, well, geez, more than half of our district is under 12. So, we could never really get much over 50% because until this vaccine was approved for younger kids, we didn't really have the opportunity, right?
Well, the guidelines that were out, I know masking is now through January for DESE, but it was actually looking at high school. They were separating it by ages and grades.
Okay.
So that is how they are still continuing to monitor that, and also looking at just like the activities and different, it's not just vaccination rate that's looking at masks. There's other factors that look into all of the mitigating measures. So everything's being monitored.
So the 63%, are those people that we have confirmation for?
So again, the state data and that link is for the town of Mashpee. So a lot of these kids may or may not attend Mashpee Public Schools between school choice or home school or whatever. So I can tell you right now, for today, 350, so I'm sorry, that's my math, 374 students are in the 12 to 18-year-old vaccinated.
Yeah, so if I use that number 374, and I assume that those are, oh, I see. I've got to add the middle school kids.
Correct.
Okay.
Because remember, it's 12-year-olds. So some of our sixth graders are in the 12 to 16 or 12 to 18 really year old.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 to 11-year-olds. So you really have to go by age versus grade level based on date of birth, because some of our kids weren't eligible for the 12-year-old vaccine, but they were eligible right now for the 11-year-old.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense? Sorry. It's a lot of math.
No, it's helpful. That is.
So I have a quick question
Sure.
too. So the off-ramp thing for the 80% off-ramping that DESI's put out, you're saying that they're looking just at the high school? Did I understand that correctly?
So
or-
the guidance that came out originally was for high school age, or 16, middle high school.
And they haven't revised it yet?
And that has not been revised at this time. There's
Okay.
talks about it, and again, we are seeing that there are more factors than just vaccination rate, given also that we are seeing most people that are testing positive have also been vaccinated. So we're not 100% sure that that's a clean data point to be looking at, Department of Public Health wise.
And the
But we do actually have, it would be a 7 through 12, that would have to be 80% for us, because it's by building.
Okay.
So that, but we're not there. And
Yeah,
it's
no.
80% of staff and students.
Yes, okay. But are we using so we're using the town data though, because we're not mandating people to report to the school directly, is that?
So
also-
we'll be looking at our own also, because we
Okay.
can't, your town is not clean, because they don't all come to our schools, so we'll be looking at our data.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just had a quick question. You talked about the survey, and I was just wondering about the results or participation. Did we see, a lot of parents and families participate? And if we can get those questions or just a copy of the survey that went out?
So it was basically just asking, would you be interested in having your child receive their vaccination through a town-sponsored clinic? And they only replied if they were interested. So 45 people have said they're interested.
Okay.
It's not really a full survey that way. We just collected their name and email in case I needed to share something ahead of time with forms.
I think it went out as part of Patty's Weekly
Well,
on
I think-
Friday.
No, it went out by itself
It was
this
separate.
week,
Yeah.
but I did forward
I
it to
did
the
see it,
committee.
yeah.
Yeah, on the 16th.
And it wasn't,
Yeah.
it was really just like Stacy said, if you're interested, fill out the survey. If you're not, you don't do anything. So, I mean, I received a few emails,
Oh, it just went out yesterday.
a
Yeah.
few
16th.
emails from families that are not in favor of vaccinations and didn't really like the survey. And I said, respectfully, you just don't have to return the survey. We're not forcing a vaccine on you. We're just saying if you're interested, we'll try to set something up for the community based on, you were prompted by the Mashpee Board of Health to see if there was an interest in a clinic. So
The issue
That's
with
where we're at.
vaccine and supply and demand is making sure you have enough, obviously, for your clinic, and then making sure you can only get so much during time, and then it expires too within a 30-day window. So making sure that we have enough if there's interest, or for our interest, and then making sure that it's available and ready.
Okay, so will that survey, will we keep on, or will that just be a one-time thing, or?
So that was just to get a baseline, so we know there's interest. I know with the VNA and the Board of Health, at least 50 doses. That seems to be the exact same dose that on Bourne released theirs. That's what they have for interest in their town. That seems to be an average around our towns. Again, many families have already made appointments. I just, on my way here, had 2 emails from parents sending me, they just came from appointments at their pediatrician's clinics. Many practices are offering clinics through the weekend. So this number will just keep going up. But it is not an issue of supply and demand like we saw in the spring. So
Okay.
it is available if people need it or want it.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question, I'm not sure if it's for Patty or for you. With President Biden's recent mandate requiring any public employees that have over 100 employees to require vaccinations and mandate it, are we exempt from that? Are we private? Are we public as a municipality? Where do we stand with that?
So guidance that we've received from our attorneys is currently Massachusetts is not sort of an OSHA, there's a relationship that has to be there that we don't have. However, Massachusetts is following many OSHA guidelines, so they have to do a little bit more investigation. But as of right now, it does not apply to us. It could end up applying down the road as they look a little bit more into how it is all connected, but right now it does not.
Okay, I just wanted us to keep that on our radar because I know that President Biden, put out his orders, and I know that Governor Baker is also mandating it, so I'm not sure where that would leave us, but I think that's also important so that the staff and everyone knows.
Absolutely.
Other vaccination? Yep.
Thanks, Brian.
I have 2
And are you looking at the handout or the one in the packet? Because I gave you a more up-to-date one on your desk.
I'm looking at the one day, 11/16, 6:30 p.m.
Yep. Yep.
Just, I was thinking about this a few minutes ago. The health office visits, does that include kids or visits that are regularly scheduled, or kids getting medicine, et cetera?
So they are calculated into a return to class, yes.
Okay, so that's never is exasperated by
Correct.
that on both sides.
I'm
They
not,
only count once, so if they have a couple of treatments, you get one, every visit gets a outcome. As a visit. Well, that's, correct, yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. Can someone explain it to me,
He's
please?
He's
Still
asking if
coming.
everyone who goes to the nurse's office is getting counted once.
So like I get asthma medicine twice
Yeah.
a day.
Oh.
So each time I go get my regular asthma
Counts as
medicine,
one of those visits.
they're
Oh,
counted,
okay.
correct.
But then it gets counted as a return back to class.
So that gets counted again.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the back to class is, it's one, your back to class is,
strict, right?
if there's two separate visits, correct. But if,
With my
correct, your
asthma,
example,
but I don't-
correct,
Basically, every time you walk through the door, you're counted, and every time you walk out of the door, you're counted.
correct.
Right. Because when I initially looked at it, I thought, gee, that's a lot of people going to the health office. But then I said, oh, well, wait a minute. A lot of them is probably on illness related.
But it still
But it's-
requires a
yeah,
nursing
it's still-
intern,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but that metric is really meant to indicate just the pressure on our health offices right now.
Correct, though
But it's
they're
not specific to COVID. It's just, it's cumulative.
everything,
It's
right.
everything. Yeah.
So you can tease it out by, if it's COVID-related, they get a dismissal, so they're not counted in the back to class, or illness-related. So if you have any type of illness, you're out until cleared, and then you're back to class. I mean, the goal is to have, by Department of Public Health, a 95% or higher back-to-class rate. I don't know if somebody can do that math. With COVID now, we send home a lot more than we
Yeah, it looks like
They
about
have.
10% are going home. Yeah.
And that's always been kind of standard average across the state of Massachusetts, so people are doing a great job with keeping their kids home when they don't feel well. And if you look at the number of communications, people are literally 7 days a week communicating in real time, which is huge. And I think that's why we have the success that we have.
Gotcha.
None of this data involves anyone actually having COVID from going home or from any of their symptoms.
I'm sorry?
Like all these, it looks like anyone that was sent home, we have no data to back up that anyone actually had COVID while they were at school.
So we have not had any in school at this time.
Yeah, kind of along those lines, how are we making sure with cold and flu season, do all students have to go out because of our policy and they have to come back with a test?
So
or-
everybody needs clearance. I mean, that's always been the way. If you have any symptom, pre-COVID also, because not everything is COVID. So if you need medical clearance, so we don't require a COVID test, we require medical clearance. Because again, as I've said in the last few meetings, between RSV, strep, flu, the regular cold, there's norovirus has been here for a month now. Like, there's lots of illnesses, not just COVID.
From personal experience, we just went to it last week, and like post doctor's offices will automatically just test for COVID just to make sure. Yeah.
The only way to rule out COVID is a COVID test.
Don, you had another question?
Yeah, I mean, so we hear in the news, I think in Upper Michigan, big outbreak, or somewhere in Michigan, we had an outbreak of the flu.
We have not had any positive case, I know, keep knocking, sorry. Any positive
Me too.
flu test, but everybody, so when you go to the doctor, you're, for the most part, especially adults, are getting, and even kids now, checked for COVID, flu, RSV, and strep, if you have a sore throat. So, because they're automatically, yes, correct, you get ruled out. So again, it's not all just COVID, so we want everything home until healed.
Not sure if we
get another one, right? So we've always had those protocols. If you have any of this, any of those symptoms, if you're, you have to be 24 hours fever-free without fever-reducing medication to come back. Like, all those protocols have always been in place and will continue to be in.
One last question. Any guidance yet on flu vaccines? I know that pre-COVID they were talking about mandating them.
It is
but-
not going to be mandated at this time.
Thank you.
What about boosters? Do we know if any of the staff or anyone's received boosters, or do they
Anybody
tell
who's
you?
eligible and wants a booster has received them.
Okay, thank
And
you.
there's not a barrier to access to that either.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
It is, when you say is anyone who's eligible to receive a booster has,
Well, so like our children who just got them, they're not eligible
Right.
for booster. Like, so if you're, and then there's guidelines for Pfizer, like, depending on which when you had it, which vaccination you had it, and
okay.
all that. So some people, like, if they just got their second dose in September, they're not eligible for booster yet.
But
But I can
since
say,
we-
like, I just made my appointment for Friday for my booster on CVS, and they walk you through it. It's super duper easy.
Well, what I was getting at was that, we had a couple of mass sort of vaccination events for our staff, and we all got them at the same time, basically. So presumably, all those people would be eligible for boosters at the same time. So I just wondered, is there any attempt for a clinic for boosters, or is that
So
not?
at this time, because Moderna was the vaccination clinic that we held, that supply, people are either holding up or having different timings. So that is advised anywhere from 6 months to 9 months right now if you read the guidance. So
I see. So the people who want it earlier can go get it?
they can go get it,
Okay.
yep. And
All
there's
right.
not a lack of access to that. I can't say
Okay.
that today.
How much information do we have on the boosters? Because I've heard mixed, signals about it. I've heard some people have gotten really sick and some people haven't. I mean, I know the vaccine affected, people differently, but have we seen anything like that with
So
our
it's
staff?
the same. So I guess I should make sure that everybody's clear that the booster is literally a third dose of whatever vaccine, if you got Pfizer or Moderna, it's a third dose of the same vaccine. So if you had, it's not a different combination. So it's just it is a third dose of that. So we call it a booster, but it's the same medication, same vaccination that you had.
So I'm getting a different one on Friday.
So you can.
No, I'm saying, like, so it's not necessarily, you can get it. I got Moderna for the 2, and I'm getting Pfizer on Friday.
But I'm saying the Pfizer booster is the same
Yes.
med that was given.
Oh,
if you
okay, I
got
thought you were
Pfizer.
saying you had, like,
Nope,
sorry.
nope, you can mix and match.
It's super confusing.
Correct, yes, so.
So
but
it's not a
the same.
third dose?
It's not,
just-
it's a
It's not a
third,
1/3 dose?
no, it's the
Same as you had the first 2 times?
Correct.
Okay.
it's
Of
the-
whatever kind you
Of
had.
whatever you
The
had.
immune system's muscle memory isn't there of storing, protecting from it, basically. So you're having to redevelop that immunity. So you have to help you fight it.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? You guys have any questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
coming,
coming in,
Stacy.
My pleasure.
Yep.
I'm so glad you don't live super far away.
Say hi to Cassie.
I don't know if she was in her jammies yet.
All right, so next we have the report of the superintendent. So
Okay.
where are we starting, Patty? Page?
We're starting on, actually, there's nothing in for that first dot. For the
Okay.
first, I'm going to just take this off. I just wanted to highlight 2 opportunities we've had since the last meeting for professional development. On 11/1, which is, I believe, a Monday, it was after Halloween, that's part of my monthly visit to staff meetings, and that is where I am working on Pillar 3, which has to do with our MTSS framework. And so on the first, I focused on Tier 1 explicit instruction. And then the other part of the time that I took of those staff meetings, I provided some resources for self-care for our staff, recognizing that everyone is, not feeling probably their pre-COVID selves at this point. So that was at the staff meetings. And then on the 15th, which was just this past Monday, we had a half day, and in the afternoon, our educators worked on Pillar 1, which is the Portrait of a Graduate, and specifically they were working on Strategic Objective or Strategic Initiative 1.1. And that is where we are identifying the grade level expectations for each portrait of a graduate competency. So we've created a template for this, but we decided that we would only have the teachers work on the very first competency, which was the purposeful communicator and collaborator. And that way it was more manageable sort of chunking of this year-long task. And Dr. Hanscom and I worked with each staff prior to them beginning their work through some slides to give some examples of what we were looking for and to have some conversations. And then we kept a Zoom open throughout the afternoon where different teams, whether it was a grade level team or a department at the middle high school, they would pop into the Zoom with any questions so that we could make sure we were all sort of moving in the right direction. And so that was a productive day. They understand what our goal is for this year. And for each of the half days moving forward, we're going to select one of the other competencies. And then as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll do sort of that review to make sure whatever, if any of the 5 competencies need to be tweaked a little bit. And they understand, unlike other districts, we have a pre-K to 12 vision for our portrait of a graduate, and every grade level plays an important role in getting our students to where we want them to be when they graduate. So I think normally portrait of graduate work is done at a high school level, so it's really, I think, great for our district and our teachers to really see that, build that continuum of instruction and activities that are going to allow us to measure a student's growth as they move forward. So that was a good, productive afternoon. Next up is the enrollment and personnel pages, which are on page 7 and 8. I don't know if you have questions on enrollment. You'll see that as of 11/10, 1,489 students are enrolled in our schools. A few ins and outs. You can see the special education numbers. Anybody have any questions on that page?
So are we seeing any return to school and from the homeschooled students?
We did this year. We have not since the last month's
So no
meeting.
change since last report?
No, we check on that when this sheet is developed.
Okay.
Lindsay Kett, the director of guidance for the district, is our homeschool coordinator. So she has all of the information, and as families make that decision.
Yeah, I just didn't know what it was last month. So I couldn't tell if 29 was level or changing.
Oh, I'd have to. Level.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And also on page 8 is a personnel update. We have Melissa Berry, who is the new administrative assistant to our Dean of Students for grades 10 through 12, and Erin Lewis, who was already on one of these earlier sheets. She came on board as a .5 ELE teacher at the Coombs School, but she is shifting to cover some of the needs at the Mashpee Middle High School, so she's now going to a .91 position. So we're very grateful that we had this fabulous resource on staff who was willing to sort of expand her time with us. Unfilled as of the 10th, we have a paraprofessional at the Mashpee Middle High School, a long-term substitute paraprofessional at the Coombs School, and just coming up and knowing that we have things that will probably be filled possibly before your December meeting. We have a retirement coming up on November 30th. Jackie Ristalis is a special education teacher at the Quashnet School, and she is retiring. And then we have a paraprofessional at the Coombs School who is has resigned and is leaving us at the Thanksgiving break. So we'll be looking for those positions to fill.
Can you, before you move on, say a little bit about the MMHS principal?
Yes, the Mashpee Middle High School principal, Mark Balistracci, has resigned from his role. He has accepted an assistant superintendent role at the Fairhaven Public Schools, and his last day will be on the 30th. I do have a little later section talking about transition.
Okay, great. That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Thanks.
And for school year updates in the administrator reports, before I have the principals come up, I think I'll just go through. You have the report of Dr. Curley for special education. Yes. Sure.
Would it be possible for the diversity staffing and or student changes throughout the year?
Well, it was meant to be a baseline for our measurement of our goals. It's not particularly an easy task to, update it. We can do it quarterly potentially. I'm not sure about monthly.
We could do it in the line with the state reporting, which is about 3 times a year. Anything more than that,
Yeah, the
Dawn,
SIMS
is gonna
data.
be a huge lift.
No, that's helpful, yeah. Yeah, I would just,
Yep.
yeah, I would just take it off until it's changed. When you get an update to it, then let's see it again. That'd be my.
Yeah. I mean, it's labeled beginning of year, but whatever you like is what we do. I'm good with that.
I wish everybody would do that for me.
I know you will.
I was talking about my family, not you. All right.
Okay. I did want to highlight a few things. I know Skylar probably captured a few of the sports pieces, but on Athletic Director Matt Treveri's schedule, Skylar did talk about the next round for the football team, which is this Friday, playing Cohasset at Carver High School, which is not very far, so anyone who'd like to go and cheer on the team. If we were to win at Cohasset, we would be returning to Gillette Stadium, so that's pretty exciting.
How do people get tickets?
You have to do it online. There's a link we can send. I think I think it was only put on Facebook. We can send that out. It's on the Twitter. The Twitter.
So check our social media so you can get that link.
I will send you all a link, though, as well.
Our social.
The socials. So I just wanted to point out, in boys soccer, they made it to the first round of the MIAA tournament, and I think Skyla did talk about the All-Stars, correct? You did grab those. In the girls soccer, she also talked about our 2 All-Stars. They made it to the second round of the MIAA tournament. And in field hockey, South Shore League was Isabella Egan, but South Shore League Tobin Coach of the Year was Ailish Auger, and they were the recipients of the 2021 South Shore League Sportsmanship Award. And volleyball, I believe Skyla highlighted the All-Stars, but also the South Shore League Tobin Coach of the Year for volleyball was Kaylee Green from Mashpee. And I think you did cover all of the golf part. So that's it for Mr. Treveri's report. You also have our outreach coordinator report. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. In her We Are Mashpee, Chrissy Frazier, who is our media teacher at Mashpee Middle High School, has 2 marketing classes that pitch products to Consuelo, and 2 winners were chosen, a sweatshirt design and a drawstring backpack, and that they are in the process of developing and marketing the products to sell in the store, which I think is a pretty unique opportunity that I don't think most high schools offer, of that extension of that entrepreneurship and marketing. And also the development of Mashpee Town merchandise for the store has been well received. As Skylar pointed out about the backpack project, and under her first column with community engagement, there is really quite a bit in there to look at in terms of ways that our outreach coordinator is really trying to connect us into our community. So I say kudos to Consuelo Carroll. She's very creative and doing an outstanding job. And so maybe if we want to have Principal O'Brien come up to give a little.
Can I have a question for you
Yes.
on the outreach coordinator thing before Mary Kate goes?
Yep.
So I'm noting in the first column that we translated registration materials into Spanish and Portuguese.
Yes.
Coming on the heels of that ELL presentation that Hope did last month, are those the dominant languages of the students that were?
Yeah, Spanish, Portuguese are the most that we have, but then we have a slew of others. We have a bunch, Farsi, Urdu, but yeah, Spanish and Portuguese are the primary ones.
So that's why we did those. I learned at the school committee conference last week that Framingham Public Schools have documented 72 languages in their schools. It's wild. That is wild.
Real quick before we move on, back to Treveri's report. I understand that we've been looking for some coaches for the fall. Have we hired anyone, or would that be on our sheet of new hires? I know they were doing some interviews, I think, for
Last Thursday.
basketball coaches and stuff like that.
Yes, so they did interview 4 individuals on Veterans Day, and I did reach out on Monday to see the status, and they were getting together. I have not heard back yet from Principal Balstracci or Mr. Taveri as to who they selected. I think generally it was girls' basketball that needed several levels of coaching.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that the students get, a coach in time.
Oh, me too. No,
Yeah.
that's a priority. I've sort of been all over that.
Okay,
What
thank
are
you.
the other winter sports that we have?
There's hockey, and then there's indoor track, or whatever, is that what you call it? Winter track, that's right, winter track, the basketball, the hockey, and there's cheering. Usually cheering is done as an indoor. I don't know of any others. Is that it? Oh, gymnastics, yes, gymnastics, sorry.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for staying and helping with that.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here to present for Quashnet School, and I just want to acknowledge Mrs. Whidden one more time. She is an outstanding STEM teacher, and she gives the students such an opportunity to create, design, test, and redesign. And that's really the whole idea behind the STEM process and the engineering process is you want to improve on what you've done before and find those mistakes. And she just does such a wonderful job, and you see the joy in the students in her classroom every single day. I especially love when she has the pools set up in the back closet and they're floating their submersibles, and it's like a little scary at times, but nothing ever stops her. She is always willing to take on every task out there, and she really does a wonderful job. So I want to just acknowledge her for that. The other piece that is very exciting is we have a new executive board for our student council for the 2021-22 school year. And congratulations to Esme Mildy, our new president. Madison Wright is our vice president. Kara Duvall is secretary. And Liliana Packett is the treasurer of the group. And that group is led by David Williams and by Lauren Majacomo, one of our counselors. And they just have done such a wonderful job with this group of leaders. And they have several different subgroups. We'll call them working groups for this group of students. And they want to bring recycling back, which is something that has been on hold since COVID. And we had done such a beautiful job with recycling in our lunchroom, where we really cut down the amount of trash, the amount of pickups, and it was really great. And the kids had done such a beautiful job, right, guys? Here at Quashnet, and they are really interested in bringing that back. So one of their subgroups is working on that recycling piece. They have been in touch with Kathleen Laurent, the director of DPW, and they're working on a project to recycle plastics. So any plastic bags that come in, saran wrap, and things like that, they're going to work on recycling those as well as the food piece. So right now, the only thing we're composting is a small amount of food for the 5th grade garden, and that's done by Mrs. Mayen. But this would be more of a whole school initiative. So I'm looking forward to their progress. They also have a PBIS group, which is the Positive Behavior Incentive Program, which is through our Right Choice tickets. One of the speeches was about, we want 6th graders to get more Right Choice tickets. Because they really felt that the 6th grade teachers were not distributing them equally enough. But I give them a lot of credit for advocating for themselves, but they also really want to be those role models in school. And they're working on creating some videos, public service announcements that we could add to the morning announcements to really talk about those right choices and the way we should behave in school, and just to be those leaders that they are. They're also working on the Christmas float, and they're very excited about that. They have a flatbed from Batello's that's been committed, and it's all secret, so I can't share too much about that because they want to win. But they're really doing great. So kudos to not only the students, but those advisors as well. We're also really looking forward to our assemblies tomorrow. We haven't had an assembly in probably 2 years. I think it is at this point. So we have a 9:30 assembly and a 10:30 with Cameron Greendare coming over with dancers and drummers. So we're really looking forward to that tomorrow. I know the kids are excited about that. Our K-Kids have been really busy. It's a small group but mighty. It's a division of the Kiwanis Club. And they had organized a candy drive from Halloween. And so we used to send candy to the troops, and we sent quite a bit when we had a lot of soldiers overseas. And this year they ended up going the route of Halloween candy for heroes, and they invited firefighter Lenny Goldman and our SRO Kate Hennessy to school, and they sent them with more candy. Our first responders should be very happy. But they were so appreciative of the work that the kids did, and it really was a very nice effort on everyone's part, because it does include all of the students at Quashnet that donate so much candy. It's really amazing how much candy comes in. So we appreciate that from everyone. And finally, I just want to acknowledge that we're almost to the end of the first term. The first term ends on December 3rd here at Quash, and our teachers are putting together their report cards and grades for students and communicating those with students. It's also a time to progress monitor and see how well kids are making progress and meeting their goals. It also, this year, with our integrated arts block, it will also trigger a change for our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders into that cycle rotation for that integrated arts block. So if they're in music, which is band or strings, they'll remain in those classes. But if they did not choose to play an instrument, they either have an art, a technology course, or a wellness course. And so they'll switch into that next class after December 3rd. So it's been a good year. I think we're moving forward, and everybody's getting into the rhythm and routine, working on keeping masks above noses, which is always a challenge, but I've got this. I walk through the halls, and it's immediate. Everybody just pulls those masks up. But any questions?
No, sounds
Awesome.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I think Dr. Goulart, you're up.
Good evening. I know, Matt, I like when you sit right in front of me there. It's been a super busy week. So we started our Native American Celebration Week Monday morning by raising our tribal flag. It was very moving. It's very special and historical. It's the first time that at KCC we've ever done that, and it's long overdue. And at the end of the flag raising ceremony, we dedicated 2 book boxes for the 2 preschoolers that we've lost over the past couple of years. The families put the plaques on the box, and it was very touching. On Tuesday, thanks to Cameron and Darius Combs, we had the drummers and the dancers come to us for 2 shows. That's always a favorite for me. I think it's a favor for everybody. One of the kids at the end said, "I wish I was Wampanoag." And one of the dancers said to him, "Well, you can go look up your heritage." And he said, "No, I just want to be Wampanoag." So that was amazing. It's always amazing. The kids talked about it all day long. At lunch, I usually read to the kids, but I've been reading them Native American stories this week. And that's been really good. We have a story called Jingle Dancer, and yesterday there was a beautiful jingle dancer there, so they could kind of relate to that a little bit. And so we've been doing all of these things all week. We've been reading the biographies, but one of the things that we've done is we've had the second grade Indian Ed students working with Julia Thomas and our own drumming and singing Mr. Randy to have the kids say the Falcon Five in their Wampanoag language. And that has really been very exciting for them. They like that. They feel very proud. And it's just been so successful. So they are fabulous. And let's see, on to another topic. The book fair ends tomorrow, but it appears to have been very successful. The PTO generously opened the fair last Saturday in our gym to families to come by appointment. They really have gone above and beyond to try to get everything back a little bit to the way it was. We are collecting lots of food items for Fill the Van on behalf of the Recreation Department. We are also doing Grace Funk's initiative to fill the backpacks. And Consuelo donated a backpack to every homeroom, which is 21. And then the classes are trying to fill them up, and they're doing a really nice job on that. Let's see. We are looking to have our Giving Tree event this year outside. Now that's December, so we'll see what the weather holds for us. And more information will be coming on that as we get a little bit closer. But we're excited about that because we didn't get to have it last year, and I think it'll be really nice for the families and the kids. And that's all. Any questions for me?
One quick one. Just
Sure.
With your stories for this month, are you reading any Wampanoag stories, or are you just focusing
Yes.
on? Yeah.
Yes. Meg Smith, our librarian, pulled a bunch of books for me that tomorrow's is about where did you get your moccasins. Today's was the Jingle Dancer. I can't remember the title of yesterday's, but so far they've all been Wampanoag. I do have a Cherokee story that I'd like to read, but I could do that anytime I want. So.
Yeah, I was just curious if they were incorporated in with.
Yes, yes, and a lot of the children who are in the lunchroom will be saying, I know that story, or my aunt's a jingle dancer, or, just kind of connecting with what we're doing.
Great.
And of course, Mr. Randy is a huge resource, and he drummed the other day. I've never seen him drum, and he sang. And if you know Mr. Randy, singing, and I heard him singing. I thought maybe he was just mouthing the words, but he was singing. So yes, we have a lot of pride around that.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say good job to all of the administration. I know that one of our tribal students, Trenton Scott, his mom was on Facebook saying, he keeps on saying this word in Wampanoag, and I don't know if he's saying it right. And he was saying be safe. And that was because of the poster project that Assistant Principal Prena and Natana worked on. So we're seeing that, out in the school. And it was also great to have the flag raising at the Kenneth C. Coombs School, because Mr. Coombs was one of our first principals here and taught a lot of the Wampanoag students that went through the schools. And you guys are doing a great job. In my full-time job, I had an interesting call today from a teacher in Virginia. And she called to ask if it was appropriate if they could dress up as Wampanoags. And I think we all know the answer to that. So I told them if they wanted to represent the Wampanoags or, look at a prime example, I think our school district is doing a great job with the land acknowledgement posters and all that we're doing here. Growing up in Barnstable, I remember they used to have the kids wear potato sacks and colorful headdresses, and one class was the Pilgrims and one class was the Indians, and that's right here in our own backyard. So I want to commend the administration and all of the principals and all the great work that you guys are doing. So thank you, Katabatash.
Thanks for sharing that.
And I would like to say what a wonderful job you did presenting the story of Kenneth C. Coombs. It was really so appropriate for that particular audience and so meaningful. So thank you. You did a great job. Okay, so next on my agenda, very quickly, acknowledgements. I just wanted to say that The Southport Falcons had a fundraiser, and they donated $300 to the Quashnet School Library. Lori Lebrecq presented the check, and it was to purchase additional books. So it was very nice that having that connection and then wanting to support something specifically at our schools. And then I also wanted to thank the group that's really helped put all of these assemblies together this week. We've had multiple planning meetings, but I wanted to thank particularly Brian Whedon, Roxanne Mills-Brown, Cameron Greendeer, Darius Coombs, Talia Landry, Kitty Hendricks, Amaya Peters, and other tribal members, including, I think, David Pocknett and Chinolke Pocknett, were part of yesterday's assemblies, as were others, so I feel bad that I'm not naming everyone. But we really had multiple meetings to make sure we captured what the tribe would most want us to, and I will say from being able to be involved with yesterday's high school assembly, just the history piece that Darius presented was very impactful, and then the way Cameron really talked about the meaning behind the various dances and the regalia that was worn and had the significance of each of those, and then the drumming, and it was just really the way to slowly sort of shift our understanding and knowledge so that we're creating a more inclusive community. So I just want to thank everyone from the tribal side for all that they did. We've already acknowledged the tribe presenting at the joint conference in Hyannis. That was really very meaningful as well. And to have an audience of basically, district leaders, whether it's the school committee members or the superintendents across Massachusetts, left them with a lot of thinking to do, and I think impacted their decision making. And of course, Skyla's part as well was wonderful. And I think that's it under acknowledgments.
Yeah, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
That conference happens every year in November. It's always the first weekend in November. But I don't want anyone to mistake the fact that the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe was invited because it was November. I explicitly invited and made sure that the tribe were invited because that conference takes place every year in Hyannis. And the Wampanoag tribe has never been invited to actually come and talk about the history of the land that we're all meeting on, and the history of the tribe. So I was particularly proud, and I just wanted to distinguish that from what becomes, sort of, as David Whedon said to me, he's like, yeah, everyone remembers us in November. And I thought, well, that's unfortunate timing because you've literally been here the whole time that they've been doing this conference. So I just wanted to call that out and say that I hope that that's something that continues, not because it's November, but because it's of where it's held every year.
Correct. I also, we did our two schools. We do not have a representative from the high school here tonight to report out on the high school. Next in your packet, you do have the FY23 budget narrative, which is currently still my proposed budget and my narrative until you have voted it. I did pass out an updated version, and you'll see that every time we do an updated version, we change the date at the top so you know which one you're looking at. And basically, the difference reflects a few edits that Mr. Myers pointed out yesterday. And so one of the differences you might notice is that on page 4 of the narrative that was handed out to you, we previously had basically a sentence in there that said our FY23 budget assumes, this is almost a third paragraph down in the middle, our FY23 budget assumes Mashpee Public Schools will be operating without COVID-19, which is where it ended previously. And just to provide a little bit of clarity, we added, and therefore it does not include any additional pandemic-related personnel. And then the next sentence talks about the fact that, well, if that were the case, we would need additional funding would be requested. And then we go on to emphasize that there are certain changes in our health practices in keeping our buildings safe and healthy that we expect to continue and be funded through the DPW budget. But that was a minor change on that page. And then if you go to, on page 8, we were able to fill in the date. December 15th is when the superintendent reviews the proposed FY23 budget with the town manager. And I know that Dr. Hanscom and Director of Finance Ashley Lopes will be accompanying as well. So if a member of the Finance Working Group also wants to join us, I believe that's how we've done it in the past. And I think that meeting is at 9 a.m. on December 15th. So that was added to that page. On the next page 9, we did add information below the cover of the magazine to just make sure everyone realized that those were Mashpee students, which we hadn't really pointed out. These are all edits based on Mr. Myers, so
Wow.
kudos to him.
Nice job, Don. Thank
He
you.
also wondered if people understood what Magna meant, but pointing back to page 3 of the narrative, we do have under sort of the general broad Mashpee Public Schools section that we were the 2021 National Equity in Education Magna Award winner. So I think that implies that there is that equity work related to that recognition. On page 10, where we had the picture of our ambulance, again, Mr. Myers was not making a connection. So we did add under E in the text section, the sentence that one component of our MMHS Health Service Program is our full-scale, fully equipped ambulance simulator. Thus the picture. Does that work for you, Mr. Myers?
Give it thumbs up.
I know, that was good. All good. And then the only other thing changed from a previous version is the 2 charts at the top of page 12 previously did not match in color, which would be slightly distorting to some people. So Ashley fixed those today. Yes, that was not a Mr. Myers catch, but
I missed that. I'm sorry. I was reading. What did you say?
it was on page 12. The charts.
Yeah.
The charts at the top were not colored in a matching way. So it needs to be matching, so you're just.
I just want to say Mr. Myers and Superintendent DeBoer are a perfect pair.
Yeah.
So, but nothing else has changed in the narrative. And I don't know if you have any questions. We will continue next month as well, and then we'll have our public hearing on the budget in January. I think it's January 5th. And then at the January 19th meeting is when you would vote on it. And so any changes between now and then, we can incorporate.
One quick point on your graphs that you matched the colors on. Your labels aren't lining up right. Like you have, on the left-hand side, you have the orange listed as the middle school, but on the right-hand side, you've got it pointed to the teal, which is special ed on the left. So you're... Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out.
I'm so grateful for Ashley because charts are not really my strength. I became much better at it though, but it's really not my thing. Any questions on any part of it or any of the, I believe the packet includes some of the detailed pages as well for the FY23 budget. So pages 27 through 40. Let's see.
Before you move on pages 10 and 11, so maybe Ashley, can you explain why, personnel is going up almost 2% and operations are going almost 4%, but how we get to 3% overall so that people aren't confused, like why?
Sure, so when we display this budget, it is our all-in operational budget, which is the 4.51%. And then as you follow down the page, you'll see the offset. So we offset our operational budget with school choice funds, which is approximately $650,000. And then we also have submitted $201,000 of CIP of capital expenditures to the town. If those are approved, then we remove those from our operational budget, which further reduces it to a 3.9% increase. So it's tied to the detail page.
Yeah.
And if you have any further questions or want to see where we do the offsets, I'm more than welcome to walk through that, or we can meet before our next meeting.
I think you briefly covered it last meeting too.
I like the chart on the top of 13. I like how that ended up, because that's the real story. Do you want to talk about the rate of budget growth?
As you can see on the chart in 13, we are stagnant year over year. Due to COVID in FY20 and FY21, we had a larger return of funds that we had initially received. FY22 and FY23, we're looking to be a more normal school year, which means our activities are going to be happening. We're going to have subs in and out of the building, all things that didn't happen because of COVID. So this chart really depicts that we are flatlining. We're steady requests year over year to the town in our operations.
Great, thank you. Not that any of them are watching, but just in case.
It's good practice for the,
Yeah.
that meeting.
All right, sorry, Patty.
Does anyone else have any questions on that section? On page 50 of the packet is the capital improvement request for FY23, just to review as well there. And we always sort of have this overlap where with DPW. So we have our multi-purpose artificial turf field and the replacement of the track at the Mashpee Middle High School is on here. It's been on here in previous years as well. Flooring replacements, MMHS gym upgrades, Quashnet vestibule off of the front of the gymnasium, primarily for voting, Quashnet gym upgrades, Quashnet music room acoustic wall coverings, which is actually pushed out a year, the HVAC upgrades. And so we have things on here that when CIP reviews them, the funding sources obviously can be different. So particularly for the HVAC upgrades, this is the project we're looking at using our ESSER funds and our school choice funds for, but it is a capital project, so we need to make sure everyone is well aware of what we're doing. And then you see some other items listed down below that are years out, so I'm not going to read through those. The building upgrades submitted by DPW come to $150,000, but you realize that there are several that are to be determined, so that's not really a valid number to look at. Down below, you see food service upgrades, $25,000, the Mashpee Public School equipment total being $25,000. And then we have our technology, which you know that we have in our operating budget in case it wasn't funded through CIP, but I feel like we're all on the same page and expect that it will be funded through CIP. And you see those items there, and that comes to a total of $376,000.
Can we get the description along with the Pilot X interaction podiums that goes to CIP? I don't know if I've seen that.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
it's at the Coombs School currently.
Yeah, there's.
Is that the thing with the camera that like?
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
it's a cart. There's a camera, so it allows the teacher to sort of really have a home base, and they're controlling their clear touch without having to be near the clear touch.
I got to actually see that the other day when I was in school. So I got to speak to it. It's really cool. Like it actually has a side armband that comes up and it has a camera on it. So when you have especially like kindergarten and preschool children where they're all spread out, it's that on a screen that big, you know, the big screen TV, they can actually the teacher can be showing them like how to write a letter or something like that without being individually there with each teacher. So each with each student. So each student's kind of getting that more personable, like, you know, they can see it from where they are, no matter what the teacher is trying to describe for them.
Yeah, when I was in school, those were called overhead
I was
projectors.
going to say, that sounds like a newfangled overhead projector.
I understand where you're coming from, but they can use it with other tools, like, there's like, you know, other.
But that's the
interactive videos,
principle,
and
yeah.
then instead of having to stand in front of the TV and do it, they can do it from where they're at one location, and
Oh.
project onto the TV. Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
it
cool.
was kind of neat. It was actually really cool.
Yeah,
And-
I just think that's one, I want to be able to answer questions about those, and so I'd like to see the description, so that if someone on CIP might ask me why we need them, that I know what that answer is.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
sure,
and-
we can get Sean to.
And
Sean said he'd actually come and bring one if it was
Oh.
helpful
Yeah.
to see it.
yeah, he usually comes to go over the technology portion of our request with CIP. Plus, what we submitted to CIP does have some backup. They're not getting just a sheet. There's some backup to it, so
Is CIP meeting in person?
I think so.
Okay. That happens at the town hall?
Yes.
Okay.
In regards to the CIP, with the flooring replacement, is that in all schools, or are we looking at one school?
It's generally an annual replacement. I don't know if Ashley knows. I know last year they did one whole hallway of tiling, actually upstairs or down, upstairs, at Mashpee Middle High School. They went down like this way. Did they do the whole thing?
So it's an ongoing project that
Yeah.
they've had for many years. They're replacing almost all the flooring throughout the high school, so this is just a continuation of the project they've already mapped out. So this money, this allocation is for the high school.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And sometimes it's a combination of tile in an area or carpeting.
Okay, the reason why I ask is, I think it's great, you know, we talk about technology and everything, and I feel like sometimes, you know, we just went through a big, massive project with trying to get this building back up to par. My concern is, I feel as if sometimes we kind of overlook the Casey Coombs School, and I think that the Casey Coombs School also needs some renovations before we start getting into a problem like we faced with Quashnet, where it's just too much that we're going to have to go to the town and ask them for more money. The high school's fairly new, and I think that some of these challenges might have been from previously working for the Department of Public Works and noticing the flooring and stuff coming up in the Casey Coombs School and some of the issues that the building has. So moving forward, I mean, with any CIP funds, I think that we should start being more strategic about the buildings and the maintenance of the building, and start looking at, you know, how much it's really going to cost us, so that way we're not, you know, kicking the can down the road, so to speak.
Do you have any conversations with Catherine about that?
So the buildings are managed by the town of Mashpee and the DPW, with Catherine Laurent as the director and Brad managing the school buildings in particular. So Catherine and I do meet weekly. We do talk about different things that are coming up. So for instance, when there is a need and it's something that could be paid for in the operational budget, she'll take care of it that year. And she does try to go through and prioritize. So for instance, there was a leak at the high school coach's office and the flooring has now bubbled and needs to be replaced. So that's something that they're going to do throughout the school year. So if there's any school committee member who is in the building who has seen something like Brian, you're talking about, please feel free to email me. Catherine and I do meet every single Tuesday, and these concerns can be brought to her, and then we can start prioritizing her and I, and bringing back to Patty and Rodney, and having global conversations about it. As the admin team, we meet on Mondays, so I'm able to talk to our building leaders and our other directors to see what their needs are that I can bring back to Catherine as well. So it's definitely a process that we started this year, and it's becoming a very, I think, a great two-way communication where we're getting projects done that may have just sat in the back burner prior to this.
Isn't the planning and construction subcommittee or committee part of their task is some of the things you're talking about, though, right?
Yes, so we'll, as the departments, we'll put our priorities and then they'll go to the planning construction. So that meeting is actually going to be in December, and I'm going to attend with Catherine as well.
But I will say, having gone to many of those, they tend to go with what is presented to them. There's not a lot of like, well, are you making sure this school, you know, so that piece has to happen before we go there, because they're not diving into that level of inquiry. They go with sort of what's presented to them.
Well, and I guess my bigger concern is all the ones that are labeled TBD, you know, really means they don't have any funding source for that. They want to, they know they need to do them at some point. I mean, the look on this building wouldn't have happened if the one that was mandated to be done, you know, as a result of wanting to do the windows, and so that got all pulled together, and they didn't have, you know, they had no funding source for that. We were fortunate to be able to get state funding, to be able to accommodate a large chunk of it, and then, you know, the taxpayers then picked up the rest.
You know, I do think we need to be more proactive, and I agree that Coombs needs some attention. This school project, my opinion, was way too long. They waited way too long, having been in my career a long time in this building. But I remember walking through various, you know, MSBA individuals, and they're like, well, no, it's not going to qualify. Like, it's almost like you have to get so bad before they say, oh yeah, you really do need this. They just, there's degrees of acceptance. So it was a couple of years of various times of them coming down before they finally said, okay, we see, it does need it. But it was horrible for her. So I am totally on board with Coombs needing some attention.
Yeah, I think with the infrastructure bills and all that stuff that's going on right now, and Ashley being phenomenal like she is going after funding and grants, I think that we can definitely find, ways to cut some of the cost and contribute and work together, with the town or even the tribe to get some of our senators or local, elected officials to kind of write letters in support about the need that we have around, the buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, okay, so there's no questions on that. Next in your packet is a memo, it's page 51, a memo from me regarding FY22 calendar first, and then the FY23 calendar. So you have the calendar in your packet, it's page 52. We don't normally sort of revote a calendar just because we had no school days. But in this case, because I'm actually asking you to add a half day, we might as well fix it to reflect it. So you'll see on the 27th and 28th of October, we were closed because of the nor'easter. What that did to the ending date in June, we were originally going to end on the 16th, so then you add the 17th as the first day we missed. And then you would have added the 20th, but that is the recognized Juneteenth holiday. So our last day right now is going to be the 21st of June. And then in the memo, I am requesting you to consider adding a half day for students on December 23rd, sorry. December 23rd. It is a relatively short break for, the Christmas break. And it would be a half day for students, but a full day for our staff. And it would allow sort of our staff to sort of catch their breath, take care of some of the work they might have to sort of be finished at that time, but also to plan for the return on January 3rd, and so that they might not have to do some of that work over the break. And I know that that's also on the calendar that you're going to look at for next year as well. And I do know another district that's doing that. So anyway, I just was hoping you would consider making that change to this calendar.
Okay, so looking for a motion to approve these calendar changes
Motion.
for FY22.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian. Well, okay. I'm just trying to catch us up on time. Anyone have any questions for Patty?
I would just like to revisit the calendar once we get into the latter part of February, see if there's a way to catch up so that we can have one Friday versus having that 3-day weekend and then coming back for half a day.
We can, because we'll have to see how we navigate a winter season, because you could have another couple of snow days in there. Okay, yes, we will revisit it.
All right, Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Don? I vote yes as well. So clarification that the FY23 is, we're not voting to approve that right now. We're just, it's like a first read.
That's correct.
Okay.
It is, you are not voting. So this has been looked at by the district leadership team, and it has also been reviewed by the association. And so we're all in agreement with what you see here. And again, you'll notice December 23rd of 2022 is slated to be a half day in this proposed calendar. So this is, we don't usually necessarily share it with families, but it will be publicized enough in between, so if someone is interested in having some input into this prior to you voting it in place, hopefully at the December meeting. So, and if you have any questions along the way, before next meeting, reach out.
You want us to vote the 22-23 calendar at the next meeting?
That would be my preference, so families can start to plan.
Okay.
There was 1 year, a couple years ago, we did two years at once together. Some districts do that, but we've gotten back to 1 year.
Okay. Turf field?
Turf field, I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware, we had another meeting this week with the Gale Associates, and they are further along in the process, and there seems to be some promising funding sources for the project, and a general feeling of consensus from the town manager's perspective. He's part of the meeting. Do you want me to talk about the total? Projected total?
Are we confident in that number?
I felt we were pretty confident in that number, but we can do it at the next meeting. But the sources that they're looking at is to have some of the funding come from the Community Preservation Committee. Pretty much many of the items within the project, except for the turf itself, do fall into what would be acceptable from that committee. And then with a balance possibly coming out of free cash, or how they refer to that. It would be under CIP, yes.
Yeah, I understand that the extensive turnback that we gave made the town manager willing to use free cash to make up that difference. So that's kind of our money coming back to us, basically.
Yes.
Any questions? I think next we were going to there's a couple of infill options associated
Yes.
with the turf, and we're going to go visit a couple of facilities to see how those compare.
Will you have health information on the varieties that you're looking at? Because I still have, I'm wondering if there's differences in injury rates on different types that are out there.
Yeah, we've dispensed with any discussion of the base infill, which is the one that's had all the health concerns and injuries associated with it. And we're exploring the options of TPE or versus EnviroFill, which are two higher end options that address both of those concerns.
Okay, thank you.
And you're about to be an expert on it, by the way.
I look forward to it.
Because I think
that's why I asked.
I think I'm going to be surrendering my role as liaison to our person on the Planning and Construction Committee. Yeah. So we'll include you in the field trip if we decide to do that.
Yes.
Field trips are fun.
Yeah. Okay, Ashley, you're up.
I have a very brief report tonight. All of our normal financial reports are in the packet. I just want to point out, if you're looking at the FY22 budget to actual, we have two categories that are in deficit. The operational side, that's the curriculum, instruction, and technology, and then other expenses. I just wanted to note that those are, we use the school choice offset there, so we charge our general fund until the end of the year when we transfer anything into school choice, so I just wanted to highlight that. There is nothing else to highlight in any of my other reports, but if you have any questions, I can take those.
Anyone have any questions? Okay.
As always, please feel free to email me any questions. I can compile them before the meeting and make sure I discuss them and also put them on the school committee site. Please do that for FY22 or FY23.
Great, thanks, Ashley. All right, made up some time there. Subcommittee liaison meetings, working groups. The one that's on here is the negotiation subcommittee. We had our first meeting with Unit C yesterday to kick off that process. And we set our ground rules and have 3 subsequent meetings scheduled. The next one is not until December 13th, so that'll be the first time that we've had an opportunity to exchange proposals with Unit C. So we'll likely, when is our December meeting?
Yeah, it's not the 13th, it's the 16th.
So it's after that meeting.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
no,
sorry.
we're
Our
not meeting
negoti-
until
Our
the
next
16th.
negotiations is December 16th.
Okay, so it'll be after our December meeting then?
Correct, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, okay. So we'll update you guys on that in January. Any other working group updates? I don't think so.
No.
Okay. New business, transition planning, Patty.
So this item is related to the resignation of Principal Mark Balistracci from Mashpee Middle High School. He has, like I said earlier, has accepted a position as the Assistant Superintendent in Fairhaven, which is a great career advancement opportunity for him, and we're very happy that he's able to do that. Obviously, the timing is not great, but things happen when they happen, and we have to make them work. So our plan is that starting on December 1st, because Mark's last day will be November 30th, Dr. Hanscom and myself, we are going to physically locate our offices up at the middle high school, and we're going to combine our abilities and to handle the role and responsibilities of the principal. We think that's the best option because I have the familiarity, and so does Dr. Hanscom, with our students, our staff, versus bringing in an outsider. We do have a wonderful dean for grades 10, 11, and 12, but he's new. And so that's not sort of an advantageous place to shift him. And then Rewa Melby as the dean for 7, 8, and 9. She really has a good sort of niche there, and that's a good place to leave her. But there's a strong leadership team in place and a great team of teachers. So I think together we're going to be able to make sure we support all of our students and that we will also be supporting the staff. We intend to go out and post for the position in early 2022 and start that process to find someone. Obviously, earlier is better, but if it's a July 1 start, which is often what it is for other educators who are currently in a position, that may be how it lands. So whether we're there we plan to be there until the end of the school year, unless something sort of miraculous lands in our laps. So that's, I think, where we're at.
You'll be forming a search committee at some point?
We will, absolutely, yep.
So how does that impact district operations here? Will all your staff remain here at
The staff will remain here. There'll be, it's not like we're a distant set of 3 buildings. It's quite easy to go back and forth. We've met with our team in central office and sort of developed a plan for how we're going to keep our communication going. Ashley will still be in place in the central office. We do have a position open that we'll be hiring at the end of December as well. So central office has had a lot of transitions in probably the last 18 months, but they're all sort of well aware. We're all on the same team about making sure that we do our best to support the middle high school while also making sure we give the attention that we need to Quashnet and the Coombs School. So right now we feel we can make it work.
Where will the candy bowl be?
That will be at the Mashpee Middle High School.
Okay.
What kind of services are we providing for the students and the staff? And by that I mean, I'm obviously concerned due to COVID. I think we're going to have a lot of issues with mental health. And when you build a connection with a principal or something, I think that some of the kids, it could cause, various things like depression or, do we have guidance counselors that are, reaching out to the students or staff to talk to, or, how is that kind of being addressed?
Well, we do recognize it as a significant loss to many of our students because particularly the class of 2022 has had Principal Balistracci for their entire journey through the Mashpee Middle High School. So we do recognize that, and part of me wanting to be up there is because I do know so many of I knew them when they were at Quashnet, so I feel that I'm a source of support for them as well. But we continue to emphasize all the time with our staff the importance of building relationships. So whoever is the go-to person for each student, we want to make sure everyone has one and that we are there. And it's really trying to be as proactive as we can in noticing how our students are sort of absorbing this information. We do have class meetings set up for once we shift up on the first day, to make sure that we answer all the questions that students have and listen to their concerns and try to sort of ease some of their, it is a loss. And I mean, we're still dealing with recovery from COVID. And so,
Can I add something?
yes, the peer.
I just wanted to add too, that's one of the reasons, I mean, I don't think Mrs. DeBoer or I are super excited about having 2 jobs, right? Like, I've got a job and it's busy. But the reason we're going this route and not an interim is for exactly what you said, Brian, is the students know us. We have relationships with them. And so we're putting people in place who can wrap their arms around any kids who are struggling. We also have an insanely talented guidance department and several interns actually who are also working up there in the guidance department. So we're in really good shape for mental health supports, along with our Gosnold counselors who see students in the school as well. But that really is the point of us going up there, is for what's best for students. I hope that is helpful.
Yeah, it is. It's really bittersweet. I mean,
Absolutely.
being a student, Mr. Bellistracci was my senior seminar teacher when I graduated over 10 years ago. So having a connection with him, and, you know, like all of our amazing staff, the connection they have with the community too. You know, he was a football coach and all these other things for a lot of our young people, and it is kind of depressing and sad, but we do, you know, understand. And we obviously want all of our, you know, staff to go on and to advance themselves. So I'm glad that you guys are stepping in and that those concerns are being addressed.
Is there like a standard for like when someone like at that level leaves in Mashpee? I don't know that, you know, I remember there was like, because sometimes the transitions, positive transitions, and like, you know, expressing to the students that this is a positive, you know, progression for, you know, someone that they look at as a role model potentially.
I mean, that is definitely part of the message that we will be sharing with our students. They want what's best for him. We're all sad that he's leaving, but, you know, they understand the why. The timing's not great, but they, in Fairhaven, have not had an assistant superintendent since the summer, and so it's sort of you search when you search, and he is, you know, he grew up in the New Bedford area and has family connections in that area, so for him, I think, as he explained to his staff, it was, you know, the right decision for him at this time, both professionally and personally.
Well, I'm disappointed that he's not here tonight, because I don't think we'll have another school committee meeting before his departure, because I believe his last day is
The 30th.
The 30th.
Correct.
That is sad.
So I guess members of the committee, I just encourage you to reach out to him individually, since we don't have the opportunity to talk to him tonight.
Yeah, maybe when we do the annual retirement ceremony or something, if we invite him back and, you know, present him with an award or something, or certificate, something. I think with all the staff that we lose, whether they're paras or substitutes, I think we should kind of recognize, you know, every one of them, because we also have someone else leaving on the 30th, I heard, right?
Yeah, and she will, as a retiree, be invited back in June. We generally don't invite back members who have resigned, but that's... And then the next item is anyone wanting to share out from the MASC-MASS Joint Conference on any of the, if you were able to attend any of the sessions.
I've kind of shared out my my moments. You know, I couldn't hold myself back, but yeah, Skyla was definitely a highlight, and having the tribe's historic preservation officer there was a highlight. Roxanne said very little in terms of time, but she made a really big impact with the questions that she asked of all the folks in the room, sort of, and there, you know, it was the plenary, so there were lots of people online, and I got several messages through the conference app about how impactful it was for people. Because I had the honor of introducing them, people sort of reached out to me and just provided that feedback. So that was really cool. I did tried to attend a few other sessions on rebuilding, you know, and keeping constructive relationships with your union through negotiations. So that was something that I attended. I also attended a really nice presentation by the Barnstable District about their community engagement center that they have at the Hyannis Rec Center, and the work that they're doing with non-English speaking families, and how that venue creates an opportunity for families who might just have general questions to kind of come in and have a conversation with somebody in their native language, so that they can kind of, it's more than just handing them a handbook. And they, the numbers, I don't know if you were at that one as well, but
I did not go to that.
I mean, they keep track of how many engagements that they're having throughout the day with families, and it's numbered in the hundreds since they've stood it up. So we're a much smaller district, and I feel like our front office is kind of our community engagement center, but it was some interesting ideas, and I put Consuelo in touch with their community engagement center director, who was part of that panel. So those were sort of the big take-homes for me. And then, and I got to meet the Massachusetts Teacher of the Year. What? She was awesome. She was really good. And I think I already put a plug into Patty. She should get her for convocation. But does anybody else want to share any of their sessions?
Sure. I kind of went more the policy route, because that's kind of where I'm heading right now. So I did go to like the policy update, where it was basically discussing the switchback from the COVID policies, any changes you might have made, and what they were recommending to switch to after, which we've done most of. So I felt kind of confident with a lot of that, what was presented. Some of the stories from other districts were a little interesting, talking about mask mandates, vaccine mandates, all those types of mandates that they're trying to get, which was, again, interesting. Trying to think, I'm kind of going through the app here to remember, because I feel like there was so much going on. The other one I went to that I found kind of interesting was community engagement and getting people to attend your school committee meetings versus, like how COVID impacted the change from virtual to in-person, and how, some school districts saw, they literally would have a room like we have, but then when COVID hit and they went to Zoom, they had like hundreds of people on the Zoom. So it was kind of an interesting conversation, because there were people like us who didn't necessarily see that uptick, but there were also schools that were like, we're not going to do Zoom anymore, and they were talking about the different options and what was feasible and allowed access. And, personally, I still, what I took away from that was what we're doing with the hybrid meeting, I feel is making it accessible whether or not people attend. I err on the side of accessibility, just because I feel like it does provide that. And yes, they can go back and watch it, but I think there's something about being able to watch it live streamed that adds to it for a person. And it was very interesting to hear the varying opinions on that. Some people were like, nope, we don't want them there. We want them in person. We don't want them on the Zoom. And I was like, okay, well, interesting. I did also find, the keynote speaker, I got my signed autograph book for Dark Money in politics. I got all excited about that. So that was a really interesting conversation to see how some of these organizations that are, working with schools, or like trying to get more voices heard, sometimes have questionable connections and funding. So those are my kind of highlights of a couple, and obviously all of the things you said were also quite amazing to witness and be a part of, and know that that was our district there. So
cool. Anyone else want to share anything, or?
Well, there was one that I attended, and I'm not sure if anyone else was there, in regard to diversity, and they did a little example of 3 job candidates. So they were looking for 3 cover letters submitted by a teacher. And one was kind of rough. One was written by a PhD, and the other was kind of in the middle. And they took a vote of everyone who was in that session to see which one people would have surprised that most people rejected the one that sounded like it was written by a PhD, because I think, at least it's my natural inclination, it sounds too good to be true. I feel like they're just telling me what I want to hear, not what is really true. But then, and so I was kind of glad to see that. And then there was a question of the one that was rough, or the one that was kind of okay. And the majority of people would have called in the person that was kind of okay to see and learn more about them, to potentially give them a shot. Long story short, so that you don't really get in this rut of everyone looking the same and having the same backgrounds, etc. So we do get some difference in diversity of perspective in your education efforts. So that was my big takeaway. A couple others I could have done without. Just to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few that were.
I can't say I got much out of that union one. There was not a lot there.
No.
But, all right. You guys want to share anything from?
The only thing I was going to say, I went to one and I don't remember what the title of it was, but both of them were focused on how they had hired like a sort of a wraparound person into their school to help families navigate, and they kept them on like for this year as well. Two different, Framingham, I think, and another one as well. And I do think that's sometimes a helpful or safe choice when, I mean, we try to build our relationships, but, and maybe they're, obviously Framingham's a very big district, similar to when you think of Barnstable having that outreach site. New Bedford has one too. And that, you know, because it's intimidating for some people to go into a school setting. So having it off-site, we're small, I don't think we need that. But I did like that idea of sort of this wraparound safety net person, one of them at each school that was really there to sort of help people navigate. Now, Stacy does a lot of that in her role, probably what some of these wraparound people do, but there's just so many layers of what everyone's dealing with and families are dealing with, so I liked that idea as an option to have considered, which we didn't, but I like it.
Yeah, first of all, I would say we should have our counselors come and explain how they do what you just described with our families.
They do a great job.
They actually do all those things you just described and more, which is why I'm in awe of them. I was really disappointed on Friday that I got food poisoning on Thursday and got sicker than I've ever been in my entire life and missed Skyla. I was so disappointed. So I need that little clip that you talked about. But I would say the best thing I went to was a session with attorneys, and it was talking about trends in human resources, and especially with our HR department sort of flipping over. And Don, I think you were there virtually. I found that to be extremely useful, and so I shared the slides with the superintendent. But it's always good. I always feel a little better about my life when I hear other people talk, like you said, Kathy, and how lucky we are to be in Mashpee. That's how I left there feeling. So.
Yeah.
If you have the app, by the way, the Skyla's comments are on the app.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's right. You can just push the little button.
I just deleted it, but Patty still has it.
No, it's there.
Thank you. Oh, yay.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was good.
She's a very good role model for being authentic and being one of the things that was so cute was how she said, you know, you see me up here and I look like I have everything together, but I'm doing my, 5-finger breathing under the table because this is hard for me. And I just thought she does a really great job of helping people relate to the things that connect us. And I can't wait to see what she does next. I just can't wait. So great. Well, thanks for everybody for sharing those things. The only other thing I would add, because I didn't know it until yesterday, is I think we're going to be doing the Division 7. Talia alluded to it in her last bit of her update. The combined Division 7, Division 10 PD is going to be a lunchtime webinar with the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe Education Department, and we're scheduling that for the week of, I don't have an exact date yet, but it's going to be the week of December 13th, we think. So I'll let you know, I'll circulate that, and you'll see it through Mask. Is everybody getting their Mask emails now? Did we sort that out?
What email should we be getting? I get the daily.
Yeah.
I get the daily like news ones, but.
Yeah, that's, so you're on the list.
Okay.
They did approve new Division 7 officers, so this is kind of I'm in my last hurrah here. At the end of the calendar year, that'll switch over. And one of the things that, because we've been down an officer for the last year, but the new officer from Monomoy has already taken up sort of getting information about all the districts in terms of not just contacts, but like how many board members they have, how often they meet, what day of the week that they meet, and just things that I think could be really useful to us as just school committee members in general. So, so I'm really pleased that leadership is already diving in. So I think that's all I have. I will say that Mask was, one more thing. Mask did circulate some, apparently some school committee members were getting some guff about not wearing masks at certain parts of the event and things like that. So Mask is developing, just some material for those people who, I haven't seen anything like that in here in our community, so I haven't really been worried about it, but if that's something that you're interested in, I can share that with you. And I think that's it.
On the upcoming events on the next, I just wanted, what's not on this page is a reminder, we did talk about it on the 15th, is the budget review with the town manager at 9. But the planning and construction meeting is Wednesday, December 1st at 5. I think that's I don't know what day of the week that is.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday.
Thursday?
No, it's
Wednesday.
a Wednesday.
And then the Community Preservation Committee meeting would be December 2nd at 6:30. So
I don't know if we're on that meeting, but
that's their first meeting. Okay.
So stay tuned.
So stay tuned. And also not on here, on the 4th of December, there's an alumni soccer game that's taking place at Mashpee Middle High School. I think that's a Saturday. And that is when they are officially designating the upper soccer field to Peter Langler. And we looked it up. It was about a year and a half ago or so that school committee did approve that naming of the soccer field. But the actual final, event is going to be on the 4th of December.